Ready, Jeff?
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. A STEM school focuses on these subjects in order to help our youth prepare for the job market. And the STEM school and the parameters that are included therein will engage our students in solving problems in a way that they've not done before. Why STEM? Well, we found that there's a disconnect between the skills employers need and what our workforce is providing. Jerry was talking before the meeting began here about if we bring an industry into the county, or we try to bring an industry into the county, the first thing they're going to want to know is what kind of education community do we have, and is our workforce ready to do the jobs that are going to be laid out there. 2 to 3 million unfilled positions right now because employers can't find workers with the basic technological skills. And by 2020, we're expecting that that number will rise to 10 million unfilled jobs. A 2-year degree in STEM education right now is worth more than a 4-year degree. Okay, and a statement that was made, parents can take assurance that when they're sending their kids off to college and they're paying these huge fees for tuition and books, if they go into science and engineering, that those jobs are going to be rising 70% faster than other occupations. So instead of encouraging our kids to go into fields where there's not going to be work, we can direct them in this area, and we know that there's going to be opportunities out there for them. But we've got to get them ready for the college level, for the technology school level, and that's what our job here in Carter County is. The history of STEM, it's not a new idea, it's just got a new acronym. In 1957, when the Russians sent Sputnik into space, the United States went crazy. We just panicked because they were ahead of us. And there was a great push then to do more to educate our children so that we would have engineers and scientists who could propel us forward and have us compete. But after a while, as most things do, interest kind of waned and we became happy with the status quo. We lost that fear that Russia was going to dominate us. In 1983, however, we again saw this push for education excellence again with a publication that was put out by the National Commission on Excellence in Education. And it was horrific, and I can remember at that time, because I was teaching at that time, our education systems in the United States were said to be failing. We weren't teaching our kids what they should. There was a great production made about kids going to college who couldn't read and do basic math skills. Politicians and journalists jumped on the bandwagon, and public schools in America became distasteful, awful places in the minds of a lot of people. There was a lot of contrast at that time after this study was put out between American students and Japanese students in particular. Those kids were performing at such high levels and our kids weren't. And so again, we saw a push. Let's do more. Let's be more. Let's see if we can't compete. But then again, the interest began to wane. Move forward about 20 more years, and the No Child Left Behind Act came along. And the goal of this act was fourfold. And I've listed them here because some of you are not in education and you may not be aware of how the No Child Left Behind Act really turned education around. Increase accountability for student performance. States and districts became aware that we were going to have to improve achievement of students, and we were going to do that through forcing tests. We were going to be looking at performance. Okay. We also said that focus on what works. Federal dollars would be provided, but they would only be provided for research-based ideas, that there was evidence that these systems would work. A teacher could be in a classroom with a piece of chalk and a chalkboard and an eraser and a textbook, and that's all they were going to get. But if they could prove that they were going to utilize technology and other avenues for teaching, and that there would be an improvement in student test scores, then money would be funneled in. And we saw a lot of things like computers that did come in, 21st century classrooms. Reducing bureaucracy and increasing flexibility. More power, although we had this national mandate that came down to the states did turn over to the school systems a lot of flexibility so that we could begin to kind of make our own plans and go kind of our own ways. We didn't have to have cookie cutter schools at this time. And then empower the parents. This was the first time that we began to pull the parents in, or we began to see the national education system saying, it's not just the teachers, it's not just the kids, but we've got to have parent involvement as well in order to see these kids succeed. So here again, we were thinking about being behind, our kids not being prepared, and having lackluster educations, even though we were supposed to be the greatest nation on earth. Our kids just didn't know as much. And then came Race to the Top. And Race to the Top's been called a lot of things, and some of those names can't be put on the PowerPoint for people to see. But Race to the Top was, I was kind of flip here and said it was an education contest. President Obama came forward with millions of dollars and said if school systems in state school education departments would jump through certain hoops, through the Education Recovery Act, there would be money that would be provided. And Tennessee was one of those states that jumped through the hoop. Extensive time, a lot of expertise, untold hours of planning went into writing a grant proposal that would be accepted by the federal government in order to get dollars that were greatly needed here in Tennessee. $500 million to be exact is what we were awarded. We were one of the few. A lot of states looked at Tennessee and said that they were jealous, they wished they had what we had, and then a lot of states looked at Tennessee and said that we were stupid, that we sold our soul to the devil. Obama wanted accountability, and as part of that grant proposal, we had a revamping of the teacher evaluation model. Okay? So it was all placed on the teacher's shoulders with the Race to the Top. Teachers have to perform. If the teacher performs well in the classroom, kids will learn. Okay? No doubt about it. No ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. And a huge system for evaluating that teacher effectiveness was put into place. This is the first year it's been used. And I don't know how you all feel in the Elizabethton city system, but I know how some people in the county feel about it. There's a lot of pros and there's a lot of cons. It needs a lot of tweaking. It's not where it ought to be, and it's not at all doing what it's set out to do. Okay? But again, this was an effort to try to bring forward what we're looking at as STEM. And with that $500 million that came to Tennessee, a large portion of it is now being granted to school districts to build STEM schools. Okay. The Tennessee Department of Education, first of all, established a public-private collaboration called the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network that we abbreviate TSIN, and I like that SIN part at the end of it. Okay. And it seems a lot of money went into it. Nothing in the education department comes free. I found this out in working with the State Department a few years ago. You can't have a meeting without hiring somebody to come in and facilitate your meeting for you. It's just phenomenal. When the teacher evaluation system began, I was privileged, I guess you could say, to be on that committee. And the first two meetings that we had were wonderful, sharing sessions. A lot of information was passed around and a lot of good ideas came forward. And that was before we knew we got the grant. And then when we found out we had the $500 million, all of a sudden, here came a corporation in that had been bought with some of the $500 million to tell us what we were going to do and to lead us And we were told from that point on that we were there to make recommendations, period. Okay. So the teachers and the principals who were on that committee found out that it wasn't our input that was going to go into making this evaluation system. And I know I've had some of my peers here in Carter County despise me a great deal because they think that I helped write that teacher evaluation model. We didn't, okay? We didn't. The only thing that we came up with was the 5-point system. A teacher is evaluated, for those of you who are not in the classroom, teachers evaluated in several different areas on a Likert scale, 1 to 5, okay? But actually the 1's been removed and the 2's been removed, and you've got a lot of teachers that are scoring 3s and not very many getting 5s, and I don't know if anybody that got 4s. But that Likert scale was the only thing that we as a committee were allowed to do that went into the actual plan. A committee that worked with the State Department developed it. So when I look at this TSIN network that is funneling money into the STEM schools that are being built, I can't help but be a little bit dubious about what they're looking for and what's behind it. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense to any of you or not, but it's like if somebody came to your car lot, Mr. Crane, and they're wanting you to do a certain thing, there's usually a kickback that's involved. Okay? They're going to give you this, this, and this, but in giving that to you, they're going to expect that you do certain things. You're going to put their tires or their vehicles out on the front line so that they can be more easily seen and that kind of thing. But we're desperate. We are behind. Our kids are not performing as well as they should. We know that our kids are smarter than their test scores are showing us. So we're going to jump through the hoops and try to get the money so we can get the technology and get the information that we need in order to more aptly teach to our kids. So it's kind of you're holding hands with the devil kind of thing in a way. Now in Tennessee, there's already 2 schools that have received some of these state grants. Stratford Magnet School in Nashville is one. Stratford is an old school. It was established, I think, in 1961. It was just a regular run-of-the-mill downtown high school. But it was transformed into a STEM school. Nashville received $12 million, I think, was, to make 6 magnet schools. One of them is a STEM school, and the other 5 are kind of interesting because they all focus on different aspects of industry. One of them I know is a theater arts type of school, and so Nashville is catering to the job market and getting this money.